Okay, so this is the Doc Salem Conspiracy Hour. And today we're talking about the Mandela effect and how Cern destroyed the universe. And we got Mr. Tim Lottie, Dr. Tim Lottie from the University of Maryland, and Professor Jamie Reyes from from the University of Baton Rouge.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And so I don't know if anybody if you're aware of what the Mandela effect is. The Mandela effect is actually people think there's a bunch of different theories out there about it, and one of them is that we're not in our original universe, that we switched universes and went into a pocket like universe due to an experiment by Cern. Cern is the super collider that that they do these crazy ass experiments where they try to create black holes and all kinds of stupid shit like that. Anyway, so it all started with Nelson Mandela. So Mandela was in jail in the 80s. Everybody thought he died in prison, but apparently he never. He survived all the way into 2013 and then died. He lived a full life. But there's a bunch of things that go along with this. Like the Oscar Mayer logo. Was Meyer spelled with E-Y-E-R, or was it spelled M-A-Y-E-R?
Right.
The Sex in the City. So everybody pronounces Sex in the City as Sex in the City, but it's actually Sex and the City. You see what I'm saying?
Or Luke, I am your father. Luke, What is it? It's that was one. Berenstein Bears and Berenstein Bears.
Well, here's one that caught me.
That one was the bunk. That one was the bunk, which throws a little bit of wrench. So just a heads up.
Really? Okay.
Berenstein Bears was the bunk.
But also, here's one I got. Fair warning.
So there are things that have come out where I guess with the Berenstein Bears one, it was just a typo.
Yeah.
And with I don't know. You got to wonder, like, Luke, I am your father. I guess that's that sounds correct to me. But write the line. What's the real line in the movie?
It's I am your father.
And so, what does everybody think it is?
Luke, I am your father. And then that's the whole thing. He just doesn't say Luke. It's crazy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so here's another one. Like Pikachu, his tail. Mm-hmm. Do you remember it having a black stripe on his tail or no stripe at all?
I don't know. That's a new one.
You see what I'm saying? Because
I
remember him having a black stripe on his tail, but apparently he never had a stripe on his tail at all.
Well,
maybe there was a stripe on the back end. I don't know, dude. That's fuck. And now I want to look it up. Just a fun fact, and just to piggyback off of how we started the last episode. Cern's logo also makes the 666, so it makes
there's a bunch of different theories about Cern too. As far as here's the Pikachu right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the black spot actually.
Well, no, it never had a black spot.
Maybe I'm like fucking Bizarro Tim or something, Maybe I'm from.
No. What I'm saying is, it never had a black spot. Like everybody remembers it having a black spot, but he never had a black spot. It was always just a blank tail, like you see in the second version right there. And there's a bunch of different theories about Cern too, like as far as interdimensional police and stuff like that. Like they're being monitored by people that aren't of this earth.
and of course the time traveling birds.
This all, and I'm willing to bet we can all tie this back to Rick and Morty.
So I guess what is everybody's opinion on this in general? Do you subscribe to it? Or where are y'all at? I'm just curious.
As far as as far as it goes for me, there's so much shit I think should be correct, and that isn't. That, I mean, one or two you can kind of go ahead and say, well, maybe that's just coincidence. But then you got stuff like this, the Monopoly guy. You know, I've always thought he had a monocle, right?
Yeah.
But apparently he never had a monocle.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying?
Like, those things are making it even crazier because now people are putting black tails on Pikachu. That's changing the whole game, you know, like this fucking it all up.
Exactly.
I'm about to send you the Berenstein just so we can show it, because that one blew my mind, because it was just like, okay, because that was a big one. And the other big one that I knew about was Field of Dreams, where it says, if you build it, they will come. And it's, if you build it, he will come.
You see, I've always thought it was they will come. I've seen a movie like 3 times, dude.
I could be reversing it, but it was one of those. Those were the differences. Yeah.
I think it's if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And it was, and what everybody thought it was he would come because it's his dad.
Right.
His dad would show up.
Ah. Okay. Well, was it he or was it they?
It was they, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah, all right. Okay.
Well, you know, I read something, because this is new to me. So I read something that was very interesting that talked about the way that our brains worked and how we remember scenes or events. And we'll see something. And the example that was given was, if you look at a picture of your room as a kid and you remember you had this bed and you had this toy chest and you had this lamp.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, you don't actually remember what the lamp looked like, but your brain knows what a lamp looks like.
Yeah.
And
so it kind of fills in the blanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that there's ways that we're hearing things in movies or seeing things, like with the Monopoly. You know, we see that guy with the top hat and and then we see the planner's guy, and he has a monocle.
Yeah.
And then
he does, right?
Just puts those together. Yeah.
Well, Amanda brings up a good point. Like Curious George, I used to read Curious George children's books when I was a kid. I've always thought he had a tail.
Yeah, me too.
He didn't. He never had a tail.
Yeah. So I don't know if the man in the yellow hat, you know, took it off before he brought him home, or what. I mean, it takes a whole new dark turn to that whole series.
But you see where I'm going with this, right? I mean, it's coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, and that's just not possible to have that many coincidences. You know what I'm saying? It's like when me and Tim analyzed the moon landing film. You know what I'm saying? You can write off maybe a reflection off of this or whatever as a coincidence, but once too many coincidences start popping up, you can't really deny it after that. Like, it's got to be fact, right?
Well, and I don't want to get too far into it, but
your reputation's already screwed, dude.
Yeah. My thing isn't the fact that it could be done, but it's the fact that how do you keep all of those people to keep that a secret for this long?
Oh, we're gonna be back to the moon now.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, they don't have to keep it a secret. How do you keep?
Well, no, but they don't have to keep it a secret, because it's not like the guy that made the chair in Pennsylvania. He doesn't know anything, you know, like only a handful of people had to know anything about this. People that were doing the computer, that were doing you know, when you ever see the footage, you see all these people smoking cigarettes in this big room looking in front of computer screens. Right. All those people will openly admit that what they saw on those screens was no different than the simulation. Like, they wouldn't know anything anyway. It was all just compartmentalized.
Right.
So to say that, like, how could these people keep secret? Well, I mean, I don't know. The dude that, you know, made the glass that went on the helmet, he doesn't know shit. You know, right. Werner von Braun, you probably had to hide, you know, some people at the top that knew some stuff. And so I'm just saying that for that one, now that we're back to the moon landing a little bit.
Yeah.
We're back there. But does that make sense? You know what I mean?
It kind of does, but at the same time, the guy that made the chair, if he was watching the moon landing, would go, "Hey, that's the chair I made."
Yeah.
And what do you don't understand?
Yeah, you know, and it would kind of start to, you know, I mean, shit. People can't. The Kardashians can't fart today without y'all knowing what they had for lunch.
Absolutely.
So to keep a secret that big from this long with no concrete proof coming out, it that makes me, again, it's not that they couldn't have done it,
Mm-hmm.
but that it has stayed a secret for this long.
Let me ask you
Well,
guys a question.
as far as the guy in the chair, if he would have seen the chair, it was probably still the same chair, but that lunar module, the LEM, was just in a studio somewhere or something like that. Also, we don't have any proof that we did go. Like all the moon rocks and stuff like that all have
Petrified wood.
Neil Armstrong literally gave petrified wood to Holland. All of them have traces of brass inside of them, which is an element that's man-made. You're only going to find that on here on this realm.
Well, so, let's not forget the main thing about the moon is that it's 1/16 Earth gravity, and when they're kicking up dust on the moon, it's not falling like it's in 1/16 Earth gravity. It's not drifting slowly like mist. It's like
I would make the debate that I don't think there's any proof that we did go. So like, there's nothing. I think that's a good argument about did people even go? But man, we don't have any proof we went. We don't have telemetry data. We don't have anything. We don't have anything, man. It's crazy.
In their defense, they were short on funds and they had a copy of the tapes.
Right.
Which makes sense. I mean, fuck, what would you do with $58 million a day?
Yeah, so, they only get like $1 billion a year or some shit like that. I mean, it's nuts, dude. Come on.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think like the Doctor Who tapes. Those were all taped over. Yet years and years later, I think maybe 6 years ago, they found a whole bunch of them at the BBC.
Absolutely. But I think it was all audio, wasn't it? It wasn't.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. They started making audio books out of them.
So, but still, the number one achievement of mankind landing on the moon. Well, yeah, I'm going to tape the hockey game over on this. It just doesn't play out.
Yeah. Well, here's like I said, the biggest thing to me is that you can't say we went to the moon and then come back in 2019 and say, well, we can't go back because we lost all the research. Mm-hmm. Because basically they're saying that they made a ship out of tinfoil, flew up there, landed on the moon, flew back, and it was great, but they can't repeat that now, today, where we have fucking quantum computers and robots and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure your iPhone has more computing power than the lunar landers did, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't have anything for that.
But does anybody remember a movie that Sinbad was in where he played the genie? Oh
yeah, that was Kazam.
Yeah, well, there's no proof that he ever did that.
No, that was Shaq.
Like, that movie does not exist.
Right. No, the movie exists. But
not the one that Sinbad played in.
No, right. It was Shaq who played him.
Well, no, but I remember a movie where Sinbad played the genie back in the day. But apparently there's no evidence that he ever played the genie in a movie back in the 90s.
No.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. It was called Kazam, and it was Shaq was the genie in that one. But I don't know, dude. Like I clearly remember Sinbad being a genie in that fucking movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, one of the things that I didn't see coming up when I looked at this was Play It Again, Sam.
Yeah.
That everybody knows came out of Casablanca. You ask anybody and they'll say, oh yeah, that's from Casablanca.
Uh-huh.
But he never said that. She never said that. In none of the movie. She says, play it once, Sam, for old time's sake. Play A Time Goes By. But yet you ask anybody and they remember that in that movie.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, I can't. That's why we're doing the show. Well, they have a kid, and this kid is super, super smart. And he claims that Cern was conducting an experiment, and what happened was they accidentally destroyed the universe because they're dealing with some serious shit over there. Like they're trying to create black holes on this planet.
Right.
And of course, that's completely safe, right? I mean, we understand so much about black holes. And what he said was that they inadvertently destroyed this universe, and what happened is it caused an event where we actually jumped over to a neighboring universe. You see what I'm saying? Like a microverse. And this is the microverse where it's it's 99.9999999.0% correct. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But all these little changes that we're seeing is at zero. Is at micro percent. Like, and he even claims that it's possible that there was somebody here that we all remember, but he doesn't exist anymore, or she doesn't exist anymore because they never got carried over to this universe.
Now, so was this when they first did the first collision, like in 2012?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I have no idea when they started. Like, I don't work for Cern, but
yeah. Well, I know in 2012 is when they said that they actually made the first collisions.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that would have been the event that destroyed our universe. Is that that must be what the kid's saying?
That's got to be. But like, what's your opinion on this? What he's saying? You know, is there anything that you remember that isn't correct besides what we just mentioned, or, you know, with your own personal universe?
You know, not that I can think of, but sitting here and looking through the stuff that I did, probably a good third of it, I remembered it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if that's because I never paid attention to it, or that it's changed. And this is one thing that I'm saying I don't have a yay or nay opinion of it, because I just found out about this yesterday, and it's been blowing my mind, and I'm like, well, shit, that's why that happens.
It is a trip. Yeah. But I'm sure people would be surprised that the popular series by Marvel, ROM, didn't end at issue 75. Like, it actually ended at 76. And they had the cover for 77 out. That's right. And where he actually went against Venom.
That's right. Venom and Carnage, you know?
Yo.
What's that, Sam? What were you saying?
No, I didn't know if y'all could hear me. Fuck. I thought I was having my own Mandela effect. No, but y'all don't think it could be like the game Telephone, you know, like where somebody says something and the message is passed along and it just changes by the time it gets to like the fifth person. And that's what's going on with a lot of these movie quotes, like the Casablanca ones. When did that movie come out?
Oh,
you know,
Jesus, like
40, 50 years ago.
Something. Yeah.
Right. So you don't think over time people just repeating that one line? Same with Luke, I am your father. See, some of these, that's where I kind of lean towards a lot. Before I jump to like Pocket Universe. Does that make sense? You know, that it could just be something like,
no.
If you build it, they will come.
I kind of agree in what you're saying, but then there's other things too, like Jiffy peanut butter. Do you remember Jiffy peanut butter when you was growing up? Like going to the store and making peanut butter?
Jif peanut butter.
Yeah, I got Jif. I still have Jif in the cabinet right now. So yeah.
You see, I always remember it as Jiffy. But apparently Jiffy never existed. It was always Jif.
Right. See, so sometimes, like when you say that totally makes me go, huh? No, it's always been Jif. So is it possible that we're from two different pocket universes?
Well, that's what he's saying. It's like it's kind of a merger. Like he merged with another universe. You see what I'm saying? Like so like that, like he says every decision, and he's right about this. There's actually an app you can get for your phone, and it analyzes your decisions and it shows you what would happen in an alternate line where you made, instead of going right, you went left. You see what I'm saying? Right. And it shows you what happens, like if you would have went left, you know? So what his explanation is that there's millions of alternate universes where every decision we make like creates a different reality. You see what I'm saying? Because there's always that chance that you could have said no, or you could have said yes, or you could have turned right or left, you know?
Right. And I can go along with that. Definitely. Because, you know, but it kind of throws my head to think that the Cern blew up our universe or blew us into another universe.
Yeah.
and we didn't notice. I mean, and I also don't want to write this off to people just being people, you know, and not paying attention. Like, one of the things I saw was about the Lindbergh baby and how everybody talks about how, you know, it's still a mystery and no one's ever, well, you know, if you read history, they found the body. And
did they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they put a guy in prison for it. They may have even killed him. I don't remember.
Huh.
But no one remembers that part of the story.
Yeah.
Just remember the huge mystery of when he disappeared and how everyone was, you know, was focused on it. So I don't know if it's a combination of those things.
Yeah.
No.
Huh. I don't know. I mean, did Abraham Lincoln get shot? I'm just asking. Like, I don't.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, it like, at first I didn't want to believe any of this stuff, but I try to keep an open mind. You know what I'm saying? And like me and Tim, we were talking about flat Earth. And I think at first we were just joking around about it. And then fuck me if I never started to get convinced that Earth was flat. And so it kind of tripped me out. Like, after you start analyzing all the evidence, and then you start thinking, you're like, have I ever seen, what proof do I have that the Earth is round?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
I can't prove that it's not, because I haven't seen it from space. And I can't prove that it, you know, that it isn't either. But you got to start looking at the evidence too. If you've never seen, if you haven't laid eyes on something, you know, for proof, then you have to start looking at evidence. And when they start throwing that evidence at you about the Earth being flat, I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm saying, I mean, I don't. And then, you know, well, they got pictures of the Earth. Well, the pictures of the Earth were manufactured by NASA, and they openly say, like, there's no pictures of the Earth. We actually created that going off of a globe. You see, you know? So it's, it just, like, I can't not believe this is fact, but I can't believe it as being fact either, you know? But then you start looking at the proof, and then one or two coincidences is one or two coincidences. But when you get 2 or 3 dozen, does that start changing your mind about what's actually happening?
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because I thought about this when I heard you and Tim talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
And we're using the term flat Earth, but Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more of a bowl Earth. Is that right?
Tim?
Tim, are you there?
Timothy? Timothy?
Well,
okay, I wasn't. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I wasn't wrong earlier because I was trying to talk and I'm like, fuck, why are they not hearing me?
No,
so whenever I'm looking up GIF and Jiffy, and I guess whenever I leave the browser, it mutes the mic.
Okay.
So yeah. So when it comes to this. I'm not a flat earther. I don't know what the shape of it is, but there's no curve, and that's where I'm at. So I know what you're talking about, where some people think it's more like concave and more like something else. I don't know. I'm just gonna go that I'm a globe denier. I don't think that we live on a spinning ball.
Okay. So
I'm being so serious about that. And I want to say this as well. I think that there is more evidence that we don't live on a spinning ball than there is of Mandela effect, like 1,000,000%. Because everything y'all are talking about, I'm looking up on my phone right now, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What is this? You know? So,
but you got to admit, the proof is pretty overwhelming, right? I mean, as far as both. I mean, as far as the Mandela effect and as far as the flat Earth.
Well, what I was going to say was,
I don't know if I'm as much. I don't know if I'm buying into the Mandela as much, y'all. To be honest.
You bastard.
Dude, I just got to be honest. I can't lie. I can't make it up.
No, dude, you're supposed to lie. That's the whole point.
It's funny. It's funny because, like, we're talking about.
Stop embarrassing me in front of Professor
I'm saying
Jamie.
I don't think we live on a spinning ball, and I think it's ridiculous, like pocket universes. Like, I think all that is like silly, but I think we don't. I think we're probably on a flat plane.
Is it true that we've only seen one side of the moon?
Fact.
Okay.
100% fact.
So you don't know if there's propulsion engines on the other side of the moon.
We don't know if it's a sphere. It might just be flat. It might just be a light in the sky. We don't know what it is.
Absolutely. But the theory is that the moon isn't really a satellite. It's actually a ship.
So where would your evidence of, man, I'm going to be the dude tonight. Where is your evidence of that? Like, I hate to do it, dude.
There's no evidence. This is what it is it all goes back to Sumerian text and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, it all goes back to Egyptian writing, ancient writing and stuff like that. To go ahead and that says that this is this and that's like that is that. Same thing with the flat Earth. And you see, like, everything can be dug out of history. It's just that you got to go back far enough, and
right.
A lot of people like giants. A lot of people don't want to believe in giants, so they don't want to believe in what I don't know how to call what to call them, like the extended cranial, the cone head people.
Right.
But everywhere where you see these like the interlocking walls, you know what I'm saying, where each piece is carved perfectly to interlock with another piece on these walls, or even Stonehenge pyramids, you find a skull of these cone-headed people. And it's not the type of people where they go ahead and they intentionally make their heads like elongated. Like, their brains are actually, what is it, like 50% bigger than ours, and their skulls actually accommodate that.
I'm open to giants for sure. I think there were absolutely Nephilim and all that kind of stuff. I think there's probably been.
Yeah, there's Bible books that were thrown out that talk about giants.
Exactly. Yes, except for one, and that's what is it? Fuck. Somebody help me out of here. It's the
well, that's what they said the Nephilim were, right? Nephilim were the fallen angels had sex with earthly women, and that's their descendants were giants, like some sort of weird like hybrid or something. Where is the proof? That's a great question. I think that's a great question. I don't know. I don't have it.
There's, like I said, the proof is in ancient text. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's artwork, and like you can destroy text, you can destroy this and that, but an artist is always going to find a way to hide their message within their work. Me and you both know this, Tim.
Yeah, I hide stuff all the time. I'll openly admit that.
I know. I mean, every time I get a book by you, I'm looking for the penis.
I'm not that dude. But yeah, you look and that's a wrong artist, man. But yeah, this stuff, I'm hiding stuff all the time. Nothing negative.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you go back, we talked about this a little bit too with the mud flood and stuff like that. Like, they're showing floating pyramids, they're showing electricity, sphinx, all this type of stuff in I don't want to say ancient because it's not really that ancient. If anything, I would call it extremely vintage art. What would you say about that?
I'm at a place, so I think the moon landing is important. This is going to make sense. The moon landing is important because once that domino falls, everything else kind of falls around it. And when it comes to like history and how old things are and how they were built and stuff, man, it's almost like this past year, I had my own like life reset, because I had to look at everything with new eyes, with fresh eyes, and just go from ground floor up. And I'm with you on the giant bricks and all those kind of structures. I don't know how they were made. There are things in America. Me and your father-in-law were talking about star forts and stuff like that last time.
Yeah,
dude.
Absolutely.
There's no. I'm not going to speak in definitives. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. But yeah, I have trouble believing that we were capable of that kind of architecture and antiquitech, and now like we just shit out Walgreens and stuff like and CVS's. Like we've devolved as a society. It feels like compared to the stuff that they used to be able to build.
Well, I'm in complete agreement.
So I think we're inheritors.
Yeah, because the architecture, the art that went into the buildings and stuff like that back in the day, I mean, nothing today can compete with that. Nothing. I mean, you look at the Roman Colosseums and shit like that, dude. I mean, the artwork that was sculpted into those buildings, and I mean, it was nuts, dude. It was crazy, and this was out of stone, like, you know.
And y'all are talking about symbolism and stuff. There's a lot of ancient symbols within those churches and buildings that people are kind of like starting to figure out, and it's very subtle, and it's. Man, I saw one today, and it was the Notre Dame Cathedral, and it broke down the symbols on the front of the cathedral, and it was the 7 chakras, all within like the front of the building. It was wild, man. I saved it to my phone. It was really interesting. I don't know. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, I've always been of the mind that religion is like telling a joke in a bar. And you've got 4 or 5 different guys around, and you tell this story about this guy who's the son of a celestial being, and he comes down and he lives as a man, and then he does some cool stuff, and then he's gone, but we all need to remember him. And then everybody kind of goes their way, and one guy goes, to Jerusalem, and one guy goes to the Middle East, and one guy goes out to China, and they all take that story, because when you compare them all together, they all seem to have a central theme going through them.
Sure.
So if you go back to the time back when we were doing the pyramids and stuff, and you see these things, there's something's got to be there. I mean, it's got to be there. I mean, you look at the guys that are painting stuff with what we can call today UFOs. I mean, they're not going to just make that stuff up and then build something that no one else can ever. We can't figure out how to build it today with machines.
Let me. Here's the thing. What you said about UFOs and everything like that. Like, the biggest problem I have is that every culture has their version of UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And it all falls within the same. It's all described almost exactly the same, And now there was no internet back then.
Oh no.
So I just don't. You can't say that's a lie and that none of that ever happened. When everybody's, it's like if you murdered somebody and I'm interviewing you about that, but then I got this other witness in the back and he's saying he murdered the same guy, and I'm comparing the stories, but they're not lining up. So apparently neither one of you guys did this thing. So I got to go out and find the real, whatever. Anyway, but
you're
every
also
one of these
assuming
cultures and stories is lining up. You know what I'm saying? There are pyramids everywhere. They found a pyramid in the Grand Canyon. They found one in Alaska. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not.
That goes further though. That goes into other buildings. Like, there's a lot of like Roman architecture, and you can find it you can find that all over the globe as well,
Absolutely.
not just in that area.
Yeah.
So it goes beyond pyramids.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at Mexico, Egypt, Indonesia, and you compare the bases for those pyramids from like 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, with absolutely no way that these people could have ever met and talked about this, and they're all built on the same basis.
Yes, and that's my point. It's like you can't just say that it's fiction at that point. You can't
just write it off.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna be Debbie Downer again. Have y'all ever heard of the 101 Monkeys? I think that's what it's called.
Oh, we are
that
all
they had
Brad Pitt.
No. It's like a theory that like there were monkeys in this one area of the world, and they like learned something. I'm gonna fuck it up, but dude, y'all want to know something crazy? My Amazon TV has like 3 monkeys on the screen right now. It's like the wallpaper. So
they're listening.
That might be Mandela effect, but but there were monkeys on the other side of the world that were learning the same thing as these monkeys were, and they had no contact with each other. And Preston, you may know this as an artist. How many times have you come up with an idea and then you see that idea come to life somewhere else?
Well, here's the theory behind that.
Could that be something?
Well, they say that, like, if I have an idea, once you put that out in the universe, somebody else picks up on it, and they have the same idea,
like a shared consciousness.
Yeah, and
okay.
but that I think we're going to delve into a little bit of a spiritual conversation if we go that route.
Yeah.
Because there's a theory that God is the accumulation of everybody's soul. You see what I'm saying? And we're just a chip off of that, that powerful being. Like we're all part of the same being. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Made in his image. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, I mean, if you go with that theory, it's not too far fetched to say like me and Tim can have the same idea. If I have an idea,
or some variation of it, sure. So could they not do that with? It's like ghost hunters. I used to appreciate that with ghost hunters, where they would try to debunk it before they go. Oh man, it's a demon. So could that have been a possibility? Well, that these people were just grabbing it out of the I call it the Ethernet, and they just came up with similar ideas. I could go either way. I'm just throwing that out.
The problem is that here's the thing. Number one, there's pyramids all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Exactly.
After looking at the interior of a pyramid, they discovered that it really wasn't a tomb. It was a power plant. Like water goes through there, it charges this thing and this other thing, and they had these towers around it, and they thought that those towers were actually. They wasn't what they thought they were. What was it? Sky needles, sun needles, or something like that. But it wasn't. They thought they were actually antennas to project that energy across the globe. I'm sorry, Tim. Across the platter.
I appreciate that, Preston. I just call it a realm now. I'm that realm.
Okay.
Yeah, the realm and
the plane.
But if that's the theory, then if that's fact. Then Tesla had the same theory.
Right.
Because it was free energy. He had an idea to where energy would be up in the air and, you would have a device that would go ahead and just get charged from the particles in the air.
Well, that's what a lot of this Tartaria is about. A lot of the Tartaria and the mud flood stuff is saying that all this Antiquitech and all this old architecture that we destroyed, ironically enough, those were generators. And the inheritors of this realm, when they came in, however many 100 years ago, they didn't know how to use it, and they turned them into fireplaces. And that's a lot of, and you look at a lot of the old architecture, they all have those giant, massive things going up into the sky. And maybe this is a little spiritual as well, but we all are just energy. Like this whole thing is just energy. So if you could tap into that resource, and Tesla probably did, he said, if you figured out 369, then you understand the universe, there's sequence and their frequency. So I lean towards it. I think there's a lot of like hustles going on.
Well, if you control energy, you control the world.
Have an answer, but I'm open.
You see what I'm saying? Like if I was going to conquer a planet, what would I do? The first thing I do is I'd take away your means to create energy. You know what I'm saying? No more electricity for you. You got to buy that shit now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That's the whole dinosaur and the oil hoax. That's what that's all about. It's just a trick.
Yeah. So let me be clear on this. Like, Tim, you don't believe dinosaurs existed.
I'm leaning heavily against it. Yes.
Okay. Now, they're trying to turn a chicken into a dinosaur right now, right?
They're going to fail. But,
do you see that as recreating a dinosaur, or you just see that as genetic engineering?
I just see that as like the Isle of Dr. Monroe. Like, I think that's just gross and weird. And I'm an abomination.
I'm there with you actually on that. I think they're just genetically manipulating a chicken to look like a dinosaur is what they're doing. They're not,
Yeah, they're creating the answer, and then they're going to say this is what that's just silly. It's nonsense. So, I had this debate with somebody last night, man, and it's a tough one. The dinosaur one is tricky, but it's another one of those weird ones, man. It's just there's no full dinosaur skeletons, doesn't exist. They're all covered in lead paint, dark lead paint, supposedly because they're radioactive, even though they died 6 billion years ago.
Yeah, I don't think an isotope can last that long.
I just think that's ridiculous. I mean, wouldn't all the archaeologists die of radiation poisoning when they're digging up these bones? Because they're not just pulling them out the ground. They got to sit there and rub the dirt off and all this.
Well, let me put it this way: if you keep talking,
man, I think it's all a hustle.
You keep talking, you might just come down with some radiation poisoning.
Let me also make something very clear, dude. I'm willing to sell out right now, like on the spot. I'm in. So I just want to make that clear too. I want to be on the winning team. I don't fuck all these people, bro. Fuck all these truthers.
What about you, Jamie? What do you think of that? Like the dinosaur hoax? And
no, I actually believe that the dinosaurs were real. I also can't answer, why they would say it still is radioactive after all of those years, because we know that they have certain half-lives and they have to break down. I've just seen too many fossils, and of course, fossilized bones can be made, and so can everything else.
I mean, you can just carve them. Yeah,
exactly. But I've just got to say, I've got to go for a leap and believe that, the dinosaurs were real. Now how they left is still up in the air.
Up for debate.
Yeah.
You don't think it's weird that they paint the bones?
Well, I've actually never seen
you won't find.
I've seen.
You've
only
seen that. I'm telling you, dude. Like that's what's weird about it. It's one of these things that when it's kind of brought to your attention, it's kind of like, what the fuck? Like what? And then it's I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to all evidence, but I don't think it exists. I don't think you're going to see like real dinosaur bones anywhere.
I've never seen a real dinosaur bone. Just to let you know, like I've always seen like the reproduction. Like, and I had no idea.
Reproduction is supposedly just supposedly the reproduction is the real thing painted over. Like
what I heard is that there's actually very few dinosaur bones. Like what they do is they share what they have and they construct dinosaurs, like the skeletons, out of whatever bones that they have.
Dude, now I have heard that before, where they
don't even know what they're doing.
Put them together.
Yeah. And they made wild mistakes, like crazy mistakes on putting the skeletons back together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like kids, like making up nonsense. And then what happens is we're just fed it our whole lives, like Denver, The Last Dinosaur, Jurassic Park. Like, and dude, I want to make this clear. I don't believe in dinosaurs anymore, but I still like them. Like, I still think they're cool. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking velociraptors and T-Rex are fucking awesome.
What about Godzilla? Do you believe Godzilla?
I like Godzilla, and I think they were giant. I think there were some sort of giant creatures. I think they were giant. I don't know what they were. But
what do you think about the theory that dragons?
Cultures? So this is kind of full circle, but multiple cultures had the same. Yeah, dragons. So China has them. Northern European has them.
Absolutely.
So maybe they were just South America. Do they really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody has a version of a dragon. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's not.
I'm totally in on dragons. Actually, I'm more in on that. I think dinosaurs is just nonsense. I think they were big mammals. I don't know what they were. I have no clue. I think these people are just liars, man.
Why do you think they're lying to you?
I don't know who these people are. The controllers, whatever you want to call them.
Have these controllers spoke to you like personally, or they?
No. Like I said, I am waiting for my invitation. I'm in. I will fucking kill the goat. I'll drink the fucking goat blood. Like whatever. Like what's up? I am so ready to sell out.
And just so that my my overlord masters are aware that I am also in on killing a goat, and all right, price and Tim are definitely for sale. And
that's where we pray to the gods of Amazon and Google.
Jamie is in also, so if we have to, we'll destroy the goat. I don't know what that means, but
y'all are wondering how easy it would be to fake the moon landing. Like, dude, I'm ready to lie about the moon landing now, dude. Like, what dude? Let's fake a mission to Mars. I'm in.
No. The moon landing. I mean, it's possible it could have happened, right? I mean,
I think
it's not.
I think it did.
It's so nonsense.
But I'm such a space nut that it would be hard for you to prove to me that it didn't.
I would like to try.
Okay. So do you think
I don't even know what space is at this point. Like that's where it's been 2020. I love 2019 was a weird year, man. That I opened the Pandora's box with all this stuff, and it took a lot to.
We both talked about this online, and we went to
it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest, man.
But once you start thinking about it, then it starts falling apart. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying what you're saying it falls apart, but I'm saying what you were taught starts to fall apart, like the moon landing. Mm-hmm. When you start thinking about that, you realize that back in the day, like they claim that, you know, they were talking to you know, Buzz or whoever, like from the moon, right?
Right.
Well, they were saying that they were talking to President Nixon in the White House in real time.
But
from
that was
the moon.
Impossible. That was completely impossible. They never had
with no delay. Yeah. So CNN, when they broadcast, they have a 3-second delay in 2020, and in '69 they didn't have a delay from the moon. Yeah, and the dude's picking it up on a fucking rotary phone. Like, it didn't happen. Like, none of this happened.
Is that a delay now because of the FCC rules, or are you saying it's a delay because of the distance?
He's saying the technology.
I'm saying the distance. I'm saying that if the moon is that far away, how could they be talking? How could they be talking like that? Like that's crazy. Yeah, that it didn't happen. The delay time with the no, but what you brought up with CNN and stuff like that, that's a very valid point, because we're all talking right now and there's no delay.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, 1969, one meg of computing power. Yeah. Supposedly, what was the battery power in their backpacks? Like, it was
like a AA battery.
Right. And and how much power would that take to transmit so what is going to be 237,000 miles?
You're not proving anything to me. Like, that's one of there's a couple of things that stand out too much to me as far as the moon landing, like the dirt when they're moving around and then the wires. You know, when he stumbles and all of a sudden he's mystically lifted up into some of that and just
let's just focus on just like rational, like 237,000 miles and there's no delay, or the battery power it would take for that kind of signal to be sent. Some of that stuff is just astronomical. It's just, man, it's just crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm totally in agreement. Yeah, and plus the spaceship itself, like the moon lander, I mean, it was basically aluminum foil.
Neil Armstrong said there were parts of it that he could literally stick his finger through. It was so thin.
Yeah.
And that is going to withstand the massive vacuum and the pressure of space. Like, if you supposedly stepped out into space, like, you would just like explode, you know? Yeah. And tin foil is going to keep you in? Well, I don't know, man.
Okay, but
I don't know.
If he's saying that and he's the guy who was on the moon, why would he say that?
Because he wasn't on the moon. Because he's a liar.
But what I'm saying is he's telling everyone, or he was telling everyone, that he was the first man on the moon.
Uh-huh.
So why would he turn around and then say it was so thin I could stick my finger through it? Because then that would make people not believe him, that he was actually up there.
Honestly, I think these are people that had to go by a script, but when the script ended and they had a freestyle, that's when things got fucky. You know what I'm saying? Like, and these aren't actors. They're not trained actors. These are people who work for the space agency, and they had a script to go by when they supposedly came back to Earth, and they had to do their public interviews and all this kind of stuff. But once that script ended and they had to make shit up on their own, that's when things got stupid, you know?
And we're talking about a 50-year period here. So a good example of what Preston is saying is that when they came back and they did the first press conference, which felt like a funeral, they asked Neil Armstrong, like, what were the stars like? You know, you would think that from the moon, the view of all these celestial bodies would just be magnificent. It would be unbelievable, even though there are no stars in any of the footage from the moon. And Neil Armstrong said it's the weirdest thing in the world. And if Preston, if you can find that video,
there's no stars.
And he was like, I don't remember seeing any stars. And then the other guy with the mustache, I forget his name, he goes, I don't remember seeing any either. It was a very awkward moment, like they were like figuring out the lie on the spot. And I reject that wholeheartedly anyway, that they can't see any stars. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy that you don't see any stars in any of these blue marble footage from the moon. There's never any stars.
Well,
except when they did the special edition recently for the 50th anniversary.
now I see why. I understand completely why they did it. We were in a space race with Russia. We had to be the first people to get to the moon. It was all about keeping the spirit of the American people up, and so yeah, I mean they falsified the landing to go ahead and say, hey, we were there, we made it.
Yeah.
But
does anything we're saying, Jamie? Does anything that because it's kind of, I feel bad because it's like 2 against 1 on this one. But does anything we're saying,
well,
is it kind of making you think, oh man, that's kind of weird?
Well, yes and no.
Here's Apollo 11.
What's that?
Moon landing. Here's the moon landing. Apollo 11.
Where?
Right here on your screen.
No.
And this was a
That's actual video from the moon landing.
Okay.
So they beamed that footage to Australia, and then it was projected on a movie screen and then filmed off the movie screen, and then that was what was projected to Americans sitting at home watching it on TV, which is also insane. Absolutely insane.
Now, Apollo 17.
And then they deleted all the footage. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. So as far as the stars go, I don't know. I've never seen this that you're talking about. But I can imagine that it must have been a situation where, you're seeing certain things from a certain point of view. I mean, I don't know enough about celestial bodies and how you can or cannot see, but I don't know.
But you see that we got a crack in the dam. Think about it, man. Like we're not talking about the video footage either, because what they'll try to do is they'll say, oh, it's the exposure of the video footage and that's why you can't see blah, blah, blah. The astronauts themselves said they couldn't see stars.
Well, this is
better
we can
footage
see stars
right here. I could go outside. If it's not chemtrailed up outside, I should technically be able to see stars,
But aren't we seeing stars as refractions through the atmosphere? We're not just looking at the straight light.
Only on a clear night can you see stars.
Okay.
Like, there can't be
so
any
there's
clouds
no
in the
atmosphere
sky
on the
like
moon.
That. Yeah. But you should still see like lights. You should still be able to see like stars.
I feel like that's nonsense. Like, really think about it. So you shouldn't be able to see the sun then either, right?
Well, it's a much brighter source and much larger.
Well, okay, so I mean, what are the rules here?
And
like
much closer. Well, I mean, I believe that we're in a solar system, so I believe that sun is much closer than the stars.
How dare you say we're in a solar?
I know. I shouldn't have used the G word. Sorry.
Blast me, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie, check this out. Have you ever seen this? This is astronaut. This is Apollo 17. Now, of course, there's no stars in the background because you can't see them.
Yeah, I'm.
Now
I gotta. Let's really work through that mentally.
Watch. Look, he trips. He fell on the moon. All right, he gets up. Now watch. He's going.
That bag fell at free fall. That was not 113.
All right, look at it. Now, have you ever seen somebody get up like this? Hold on, it's coming. It's coming. Like they literally rise like Dracula.
I want to, man, the star thing's tripping me out though, man. Like that's like, that doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't be able to see it, because I'm pretty sure that they can see it from the ISS. Actually, there's even a clip of Don Pettit, legit clip of him saying, he sounds like a fucking moron, but he's saying that like, yeah, you can see stars, you can see comets, like all this other kind of nonsense. So and the logic behind that doesn't make sense. That we can only see them through the atmosphere.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know at all. But my understanding of how we see stuff was that it was refractions. But you're right. If you're out in space, if you're at say the ISS,
from what I understand about refraction, the way that works is like the atmosphere will bend light. right? So when you see the sun in the morning, it's actually maybe an hour behind the actual sun rising. It's because the atmosphere causes the sunlight to bend. Is that correct?
I thought so, but my other thing is, and again, I don't have any basis for this, but if you're outside on the moon and or on the stage set and it's bright and you can see shadows, that would mean you're in the daytime, and we can't see stars during the day either.
I think that's a better argument than the original one. I think that's a much better debate. That's a much better debate.
But the reason why we're lit up the way we are and we have blue skies is because of the atmosphere. That's why you can't see stars in the daytime. Whereas what they're showing us on the moon is that it's complete blackness all the way around. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's around you, but not where you're standing.
Yeah.
I mean, where they're standing, they have a light source on them. Now, it might have been Kubrick's wall of lights, but you've got a light source.
Well, I mean, that's and the star thing, like that's only
much better debate. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Preston. I didn't have none.
No. I'm just saying, like the stars. That's not the reason why I don't believe that the moon landing never happened. It's not because of the stars, like not being able to see stars. It's everything else that's involved in it. It's the technology. How do you lose technology from the 60s and say we can't recreate it in 2019? That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then the way they're moving on the moon, it looks like they're on wires. You know, when the asteroid falls.
Let me take that section right there, because I do have an idea about that.
Okay.
How do you know what it looks like to walk in that atmosphere with that gravity?
Well, that's another thing, though. It's like the sand and the dirt around them. They're saying it's 1/16 gravity, but then when he's kicking up dirt, that dirt isn't falling back to Earth at 1/16 gravity. It's falling back to Earth at regular. You know, when he jumps off the ladder out of the moon landing, he's not floating gently down to the surface. He's going straight down like he jumped off on this planet. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of things, and it's little tiny things that'll start tipping you off once you start watching a video. You know.
Well, but okay. So first of all, we don't know what the mass of the stuff that covers the moon is. We say dirt, and so we assume that dirt and whatnot would fall like that. Maybe it's.
Well, I think they brought back samples, so we do know.
Yeah, but I thought that was all faked.
I'm going off of NASA's evidence. You're good, Jamie. You're very good. Yeah, I'm going off of NASA's evidence. So if that's what they're bringing back, then we do know what it is. That's what they're showing us. They're saying it's like sand.
If you agree that is what they brought back, and therefore the sand shouldn't have fallen that way, then the only way to prove that was that they went there and got this.
Say that again. I'm not following that.
Okay, so if your argument is that we know what the mass of the powder or the surface that they kicked around was, because they brought it back with them, and we were able to evaluate it. Well, then by saying that they brought it back with them means they had to have gone.
No, that's clever wordplay, but I'm basing this off of you saying that we don't know what the mass of it is. I think it was just dirt.
See, I'm finding your statement.
But you're saying it didn't kick up, and you're saying it didn't kick up in the direction of the way that it went because we don't know what the mass of it is, and that. So it's almost you're almost bringing up like a random, or you're bringing up a hypothetical that doesn't exist. I guess you know what I mean. Like going off of their information, they're saying it's dirt. So it should have just kicked up like normal. I guess sand that you would find anywhere else.
I would think it would be more like a sand or a dust because of all the impacts that have been on the moon.
Okay.
You know,
they also said that the LEM would have made a crater, like a massive crater when it landed because of the thrusters coming down in there, and there was no blast radius. There was no crater. There's not even any dirt or sand or moon dust or whatever it is on the pedals of it, on the landing gear. Like it was almost like it was just placed there.
Really?
Also, Preston, I sent you 2 things off of Google. Can you read them? And this is pro Jamie, so I'm just trying to be super, super fair here.
Okay. Let's see. While stars don't show up in the pictures from the Apollo mission, that's because the camera exposures were set to allow for good images of the bright sunlit lunar surface, which includes astronauts in bright white spacesuits and shiny spacecraft. The stars are,
and then there was another one,
and get washed out by the bright light of the moon. The reason why no or very little stars can be seen is because of the Earth. The Earth is because of the Earth. The Earth, when lit by the sun, is many thousand times brighter than the stars around it. Any pictures that you may see of stars are from time-lapse photos.
Can you play the video now that I sent?
Oh, that. Oh, yeah.
This is Don Pettit. This is no, but I just want to be fair. I don't. So here's the other thing here. It doesn't change. I don't care if dinosaurs are real. Awesome. If they're fake, also cool. Like I'm just looking for the truth. So
no, I'm there with you.
I'm with you.
Here's the thing, see what I'm saying? So I don't want to run away from a topic. If he got us on a good point, dude, give him.
Yeah. Well, here's
the good
deal.
point. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Jamie looks like the only sane one in this conversation.
That's scary.
Because if me and you are arguing pro anything as far as flat Earth or pro, no dinosaurs or false moon landing, we're the freaks, dude. That's not even play about that.
I don't even care. But this is NASA astronaut Don Pettit. So this is the same topic.
Okay.
It's just done in a funny way.
Oh God. Subtitles, maybe?
Yeah. You can hear it?
Oh, you can't do it? Hold on.
No, we can't hear it.
Hold on. Let me see if I can adjust it. Shit, it's all the way up, dude.
So this guy, Mountain Bear, he takes a lot of these clips and he makes them into like South Park videos and stuff just for comedic effect. But yeah, that'll work. I mean, shit. Oh, shit. Maybe I sent the wrong one.
I don't know why you couldn't hear it. Like that should have came through. I got the desktop up.
But what he ends up saying is that he could see all kinds of stuff from space. And this is somebody that's supposedly been to the ISS multiple times. So I'm just giving 2 sides of the argument, which I look even more like an asshole because I give you the Google ones and I pull up the fucking South Park image. But yeah, so he's saying he can see stars from space. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
I mean, honestly, if it was time-lapse, that would explain a little bit. Plus the poor quality of the video at that time,
But this is the astronauts themselves saying that they don't remember seeing stars. So right. I think, man, and then you move on to other things that, you feel are stronger, but I could walk away on that one. I think there's enough evidence still personally that the stars thing doesn't make or break it, but I think that's a very, very well played.
Yeah.
Tip of the hat, my friend.
I'll just pull that one out my butt, to be honest.
So yeah, dude, and I think for me, the biggest ones about that would just be that we've never gone back. We keep saying we're going to go back. There's no evidence that we really went at all. We destroyed any evidence that could have gotten us there, the telemetry data, and it was 1 ton. Well,
from the president's perspective, the reason why he was willing to give NASA such a huge budget to get back to the moon was to go ahead and because in a military sense, we should actually be occupying the moon now. You see what I'm saying? Like it would only benefit us to have a base on the moon.
Well, now we're talking about Force.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Space Force. I think Space Force is nonsense too. I think.
But when
now we're talking about
budget, they said no, we can't do it. unlimited budget to go back to the moon and Mars.
We're not. Why? And here's the other. I think this is what I really think it is, man. This is where I'm at right now, and I'm always subject to change. I think it's all fear tactics, dude. I think it's all there to make us feel insignificant. It's to make us feel like we're just specks. They want us to feel like moon dust. You know.
Yes, I have to disagree. And I'll take the position that it was faked. Okay.
Okay.
I think it was done as a patriotic thing to have, because it was. They had already beat us into outer space. You know, they put a satellite first. They put a man out first. Well, damn it, look at us. We went to the moon and we went back 4 times.
Absolutely.
You know,
it was patriotism.
What is outer space?
A goal?
No, but I'm saying, so what I mean by that is, like, where do we classify outer space? Is that like beyond the Van Allen belts?
Oh, that's a good question. Well,
because we don't have the technology to get through the Van Allen belts today. Mm-hmm. So when you say, you know, we're sending, the ISS isn't beyond the Van Allen belts,
right?
And a lot of people lean towards. So this is a question I ask people all the time. Like, when are we out of the atmosphere? When are we not on the planet anymore?
Right.
So these people that you're talking about, I don't think any of them left the Van Allen belt. I don't think the only people that have gone past the Van Allen belt are the Apollo missions.
I could go with that.
Okay. I'm just bringing up a point. So
yeah.
Just to hold on, I'm gonna pull something up real quick because not a lot of people know what the Van Allen belt is.
It's a deadly ring of radiation that circles the planet. It's almost like a force field.
Yes.
Oh crap! I thought it was that one I picked up at JCPenney's this weekend.
Right.
Totally different. Sorry. Let's move on.
We definitely need to make merchandise, and one of them has to be a Van Allen belt. Like, you can get your own personal Van Allen belt from the Doc Salem show.
So here you go. Here's the Van Allen belt, and there's actually 2 layers to the Van Allen belt from what I'm seeing here. So
to go to the moon, moon, you would have to go through that deadly ray of radiation that should kill every archaeologist that ever found a dinosaur, and then you would actually have to come back through that same radiation. And when they
painted it with lead paint.
When they ask astronauts, they don't even know about it. There's video of them asking them. They're like, well, I mean, I guess we did go through it.
Well, going by this diagram, the only safe places to launch to actually not be involved in a Van Allen belt would be from the polar caps, right?
All right, looking at this picture, yeah.
Yeah, but we never launched.
Is that the only picture? I mean, can we get another image? I've seen other ones that.
Yeah. I can find another one. There's actually 2 layers to the Van Allen belt. Like, here's one layer right here, and here's another one. So
if we're using that picture, you could go anywhere from North America and just go straight up, you know, go towards the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just weird on NASA photos. Like, we have all these photos and stuff like that, and it's like, you ever seen a picture of the solar system, and it's like, who took this one? You know, like, who came up with this map? Who figured this one out?
Right.
Yeah. Are we still live? Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, it says live.
I accidentally clicked off of it. All right, here we go.
So yeah, they said they have a guy today that says you can't. They're still trying to figure out how to get through the Van Allen belt. But we did that. We literally a maid figured out how to do this in 1969. That got us to the moon. Like, it's just crazy. I think the story's crazy.
Oh, I'm still looking. Trying to find something.
It's also crazy we don't have these conversations in school. Like,
yeah, I agree.
You ever sat and you remember, like, being in high school and stuff? And I remember always being like, dude, when are we going to talk about World War II? When are we going to talk about, like, all the cool stuff that happened?
Yeah.
And man, dude, basically history in school, unless you pursue it further in college and you're already deep into indoctrination at that point, it stops before, man, I don't know if you get to World War I.
No,
you do get to World War I. You get to World War I, but you don't get to Vietnam. You don't get to you definitely don't. Yeah,
no,
World War II,
you don't get to Vietnam. World War I and World War II, I think that's where it stops. Like, you're talking about Hitler,
you get Francis Ferdinand. You're going to get that, which is not why World War I started. But you never get to World War II, and World War II is just as important to the NASA narrative, and it's all part of the same story. Like it all goes from there. So World War II and NASA are absolutely not unrelated.
No, I agree.
Absolutely not. And that's not to mention Jack Parsons, because that's a whole nother JPL. That's a whole nother bag of worms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, looking like this, it looks like it's a donut.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, now we have it cut in half. So yeah, I mean, can you go up? Can you go from a pole?
You know, now here's the thing. We're saying to go through a pole. We don't, and I've been over here looking to see if I can actually find the flight path. We don't know that it doesn't go up and go up and up.
This seems like this seems like bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, according
like here's
to
the
NASA,
outer belt right here, and here's the inner belt. Is that right? So
I guess,
these are the Van Allen belts.
Y'all, it's a fucking dome. It's a firmament. I think it's water above us, but yeah.
Well, that's a lot of people actually. My father-in-law believes that too. Like we live.
I'm actually with your father-in-law.
You know,
I think I'm with your father-in-law like 100%, man. On almost everything, to be honest.
Yeah. No, me too. Actually, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Randy's a fountain of wisdom.
Nah, bro, that dude. I couldn't even go to bed that night, man. I was telling Jamie, I was like, that shit had me so fucking riled up.
Yeah,
because you don't, and you know, you don't get to have those conversations too often. You don't get to have this conversation that often.
No, I'm being serious. Like what he believes as far as us being in water, I completely believe that. Just
I think we've talked about this, Preston. I think we're getting too far off, but we're losing credibility on the moon landing debate by having this conversation.
But anyway, here's the Van Allen belt right here.
We need to reel it back in.
Yeah.
So.
I've got to say, you know what's important is that we can have these conversations and disagree and still respect each other.
Sure thing.
Dude,
and
Jamie, I'm
going to burn your house down, man. Me and Lottie's going to come over and roll your house.
Man. Dude, because it's all about I just want the truth. I don't care. Like I have no affiliation to this. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, man, I'm with you on that. As long as we can have the discussion, I'm all in. I think that's great.
So it's like buy to lie and be thought of as sane by all your peers, or believe the truth and be thought of as a freak.
Yeah. And I'm fine with being a freak. You know?
I kind of got over it over this year. Like, I've been debating my friends, and I will say this too, Jamie. I debate my buddies, and it does get heated. A lot of times, it happens over drinks, which is something I had to learn how to deal with this year, and I'm doing a lot better with it. Mm-hmm. You're catching me at the tail end of this journey, not the tail end of the journey, but I'm learning how to process it better. And yeah, dude, it's yeah. I think we should. I wish people were having these debates on like TV where people can make their own decisions, but you'll never see that.
That's the biggest thing though. Why aren't these debates happening on television? You see what I'm saying? Like why?
Because the media controls everything.
Yeah. Why aren't they talking about the?
We are in agreement now.
Found at the sites where they had like at odd sites like at Stonehenge, at the interlocking walls. Things like that. Like nobody's talking about any of that stuff. But yeah,
again, you go back to they're too worried about what the Kardashians are wearing today.
Yeah, but you see, this is all wag the dog.
Oh, it is.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's all like, some serious shit's happening. What are the Kardashians doing? What color is that dress? Is it blue or is it white?
The media is not worried. They're doing it on purpose. Like I think
absolutely.
I'm pretty sold on the fact that, and I used to be very big into the NBA. I used to love the NBA, man, and not as much NFL. I don't really care about football as much, but dude, all that stuff is it's rigged. Like it's all theater. It's all theater.
Look at the Saints last year.
Dude, look at the Saints a week ago. Drew Brees breaks the record before halftime, and then the only penalty of the game against them was on that play, so they could bring him back for the second half, so nobody left and stopped watching Monday Night Football. And the fact that he got injured and comes back to break the record on Monday Night Football.
Oh,
like
yeah.
these things keep happening over and over and over again. It's nonsense, man. It's trickery. We're being duped.
And I'll tell you that.
The world is a stage, undoubtable. And when you kind of figure it out, it's not a bad thing when you figure it out. It takes a while. It took me, dude. I'm like, flat Earth. Your father-in-law said the same thing, bro. It's like a religious experience or globe denial, whatever you want to call it. It's a fuck, dude. And it takes a little while to process it. It took me. I'm about a year in, right about a year, and I feel a lot better about it.
Yeah.
Have you ever, Tim? Have you ever gone on a long distance flight?
Yes. Long distance.
9-10 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
I have.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Well, I'm just wondering because I've seen videos of these cross the globe treks, and it just in my head doesn't compute how, if we're on a bowl or on a plane, how you can go straight in one direction and come back.
Well,
okay. Let me take this one, dude. So 2 things. I didn't go. I've never been out the country, but I did go to San Diego this summer for my cousin's bachelor party, and that is a pretty from New Orleans. That's a pretty like east to west trek, like on the equator. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You would say that it's pretty on point. It was 3 hours and 40 minutes to get there, and it was 3 hours and 40 minutes to get back. So it was the exact same time period from one way to the other. And you would think that if we're on a spinning ball going 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, one way would be somewhat faster than the other. And that goes back to my question of when do we, there are layers to the atmosphere, supposedly. You know what I mean? Like the higher you go up, it's going to get thinner. So you would think that you would, at some point, you would feel this spin. It would, at some point, it would come into play here. And I just find it odd that it was 3 hours and 40 minutes both ways. It was the exact same amount of time. Like it was nothing. To answer your question, using the model that is pretty accepted by everybody at this point, it would look like the United Nations logo. And the way that Flight Pass would work is that north is the center, and that is magnetic north, and that would be the North Pole. So if you're in a plane and you're just using the instruments that you're given, going east to west would actually work out the same exact way. And it's hard to do speaking it. It's easier to do if you have like a visual representation of it. But if magnetic north is magnetic north, then you would just east to west, you would just be going in like a circle around. So like you were tethered to it. Yeah, and also like my buddy brought up a good point. Another good point was that if the planet is curved, if we live on a ball of some sort, shouldn't the plane have to be adjusting for it constantly? And that gets another like weird one, because all they do is they have an altimeter and they get to 50,000 feet or whatever, and then they just stay at that. So they're never technically adjusting, because a lot of people, what they're doing is they're taking little mini levels on planes. And they're seeing that there's no adjustment. Like it's staying pretty level the entire time they're flying once they kind of reach whatever they call it, cruising altitude or whatever.
Right.
So what's going on is a lot of people are just doing their own math and doing their own science. And what we're being told is quickly being deconstructed, especially how far you can see into the distance, where we thought that things were going over the curve, like sailboats or ships or whatever, the sun, the moon. And with the technology has caught up to the lie. People are seeing further than they ever saw before. And that's not matching up with the math that we were given.
Plus, there's another thing about that too. Like if you go outside and you look straight up, like you can obviously see a dome. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know this is going to sound weird, and I'm going to sound the craziest person out of all you.
Yeah, we keep hurting ourselves, Preston, in the debate. We're like really, we're just giving Jamie all the leverage.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you go outside, I walk my dog every day, and I look up, and you can obviously see a dome. You know what I'm saying?
Well, right. But
if it's as massive as you think it is, and we're on a curve with the rest of with the atmosphere, would we be able to see a dome?
Yeah, I'll bring up something else.
Would it be that obvious? Of a ball and you only see part of it, then that part looks like a dome.
Yeah, I've never seen the dome, so I don't know what y'all are talking about. But I will say this:
next time we hang out together, I'll show it to you.
I never see clouds curve though.
Me neither. That's exactly. You see what I'm saying?
So I'll go with that. But I've never seen. I can't say I've seen a dome. I can't say that.
I'll show it to you next time. Next time we hang out. But it's true though. Like you can see an obvious dome, but it doesn't stretch far enough to go over the flatness over the plane. You see what I'm saying? Like,
you sure you're not just seeing like the sunlight's rays? Like
maybe it's possible,
extinguishing in the, you know what I mean? Like just like any light source would be.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Like, I sound like super crazy right now, but I'm telling you.
No, you just fucked up my whole flat Earth argument, Preston. Like I was on a roll there. With the
no. What I'm saying is that
you guys start talking about a goddamn dome.
If you look straight across the street, you see a flat plane. But if you look up, you see a dome. You see what I'm saying? Like it matches up with what the flat Earth is saying as far as the way a flat Earth is constructed.
No, I'm with you, and I've been, over the past year, I've been going outside and paying a lot more attention to everything. Even within the last 3 or 4 days, we had one really, really clear sky on the 24th. And man, I was just blown away by everything. I'm looking up to the sky a lot more, and I'm paying a lot more attention. It's very interesting. But if we were on a spinning ball, spiraling exponentially from the Big Bang, chasing the sun at whatever it is, 40,000 miles per hour, 666,000 miles per hour, whatever it is, wouldn't constellations change? And they never do. Yeah. They never do. But they never have.
But if they're spinning in the same as we are.
Good point. But if we're expanding.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not all just like here doing this. Like the bang happened, and then it's like an explosion, and we're all going outward from the bang.
It's almost like a simulation.
I don't know. See, we keep fucking ourselves, bro. You keep going into like theory. So yeah, then stick with it, dude. But yeah. But think about it. So it's like, let's say you have something, you just do it with your hand and make a fist and then pop it open, pop your fingers open, and your fingers are expanding. Do it slowly. Everything is separating. So if let's say each one of your fingernails is a solar system, they're moving away from each other. And you would think that in that process that the constellations and the stars would change, but we're still using the same. We're using the same things back to the pyramids. The Giza pyramids still line up with Orion's belt and the North Star and everything.
5,000 years. So you're assuming that it's something that we would be able to see with our naked eye. That the speed of the expansion would be something we could see.
Well, the speed is supposed to go over like billions of years. It's not.
So if it's only been 5,000 since we've been
5,000 years is accurate. Like nothing.
Right.
Hey, bro, I like Jamie a lot, dude. You're a very smart person. You're very smart.
Oh.
So I think that's a great point. I think we would have to do more math on this one, but I think that's a very, very good point. And we would have to go back in human history and see what the time periods are here. Yeah. So I don't know. I bet you there's a way to figure it out. We're going to have to do it again because there are things that we've seen, like we've seen stars die supposedly, right? We've seen things. Well, I'm using their information with us. So through telescopes and stuff, things happen. And even though it was thousands and millions of years ago, we've seen it in our lifetimes.
But we're just seeing it now.
I'm sure, right, but I'm saying, but to go back to your point, there was a change. We're noticing a change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if there's some sort of I don't know, there's some kind of guideline or math we can use to kind of come up with maybe the closest answer we can get on this one. But I think that's an awesome point. I think that's an awesome point.
I actually know someone who I should ask that question of. And he would probably be able to tell it to us in a way that we could all understand it.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to do that.
I'm open to this. I think I fucking love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
can do that.
Fuck. Dude, this is the best debate I've had in a fucking year, bro. Holy shit, man. This is good. I need to be drawing. I'm into this. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do more.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, we can do this.
But are any of the things, again, I got to ask again, like with the moon landing, are any of the things that we're bringing up at least giving you kind of like some, oh man, that is kind of, all right, I wonder. Because you're coming up with good answers. But yeah.
I'd be an idiot to say, oh, you're just stupid. No, of course we got there because I can't prove it. But just because I can't disprove something, I can't also automatically say, yeah, I agree with you. So you've brought up some good points, especially about asking about the sun. I mean, seeing the stars and whatnot. I did read really quickly while we were talking about it, and it makes sense. Of course, they would try to make sense, but they say one of the reasons you don't see the dust kicked up so much from the lunar landings is because of the way that the moon is spinning. And when they come in and land, they're not coming straight down. It looks to us like they're coming straight down, but they're coming at an angle.
But the astronauts themselves kick up dust. You see what I'm saying? Like they kick up dust where they're walking, but dust immediately falls back. Like it's not in a 16th of Earth's gravity. You see what I'm saying?
But like, what they're saying is if you look at some of the higher resolution pictures, you can see dusts and little tracks from where the lander would skid down and slide to a stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of coming straight down. Now, literally, I read that while you were talking about it because I that blew me away. I couldn't think about why you wouldn't see, something underneath it.
Yeah, I'm a little weird on that one.
I agree. It seems weird.
It's a little stretchy. And then you got to imagine, like, what is this? Man, then think about the actual math that it would take to have it even land on if it is spinning at that speed, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even fathom what's going on up there.
And they did it with slide rulers.
Yeah, no, dude. Apparently, it was the maid.
Yeah.
Apparently, the maid that worked at NASA did the math or whatever. They made a movie about it.
Yeah, they made a movie about that. Yeah.
Feels like propaganda. It feels like nonsense.
I think that movie was set up to go ahead and keep everybody.
I mean, fuck, dude. No, dude. If we want to get back to the moon, fuck, tomorrow's garbage day over here. I'll go ask one of those guys if they can do a little quick math, bro. Maybe I can get one of these motherfuckers to get us to Mars.
There you go.
Well, I think it just gets into a weird. So I try to lean away against all the alien stuff now, even though I did buy into a lot of that for a while. But yeah, if you kind of like just step back, I'm at the point of you have to prove it to me now. Like I'm almost the reverse of you on this one, where like where is the evidence that we did any of this stuff? It feels comical.
Right.
Another thing I will say, because this was in the back of my head when we were talking a second ago, is that when you listen to the recording of them coming down to land on the moon, like the whole Eagle has landed and the whole process up to that point, you don't hear the thrusters. It's silent.
Holy shit.
There is nothing in the background. So that's also that's also fishy as well. That's also very suspect.
Okay. Well, that's a wonderful matte painting right there.
What?
I'm sorry. That's a real moon shot. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like it might have been photoshopped.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They brought in some high class Hollywood guys there. Okay, so one of the things I would like to talk about going forward, the next one, is Area 51 and did aliens crash?
I've actually been to Roswell and I went there for the 70th anniversary. Ironically enough, I don't believe in aliens, but I do a comic book about them. I'd be interested in that. All takes place at the. I think that the Roswell crash happened a few days after Project High Jump, which was one of Admiral Byrd's trips to Antarctica.
Right.
So there's a lot of symmetry. A lot of symmetry with a lot of these things.
Yeah. So this might surprise you.
I got to give it to you, dude. You got me thinking about a few different things, and I'm very curious to hit the old YouTube and see if I can find some answers to this.
Well, I'm going to call a rocket scientist I know, and I'm going to put this to him, and we're going to come up with some smart answers. Would just be if we can swallow them or not.
Man, shit. See if he wants to come on.
Yeah. Tim's good at swallowing stuff too. Like,
Yeah, no, that's my foray.
Actually,
awesome.
aliens. I kind of do believe in. I just don't believe in aliens in a traditional sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way NASA explains like space travel is that if you're viewing inhabited planet now, you're actually viewing light that's what is it like 150,000 years old.
Right. Yeah.
So by the time
whatever the number is, you're right.
the planet may not even exist anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
When we see these explosions, they happened years and years and years
like
ago.
millions of years ago.
Yeah.
And,
But another good question is like, how do they even come up with? How would they even be? What are they basing that off of?
Exactly.
Mhm.
You got to realize that we have the brains of a flea compared to.
I would say it's based off the speed of light.
Yeah.
You know.
But
And so,
here's the thing, like, do you
knowing the
believe in?
distance.
Well, but how do you know that what that distance is? Like, can you explain that more?
What's up, dude?
Oh God, don't put me here. I don't know.
No, I'm just curious. Because I know what you're talking about, but it just I don't know.
Well, they say the closer you get to the speed of light, the more time dilates, so it stops. You know what I'm saying? So you stop, you cease aging. At that point. I don't know. I mean, that's theories that's thrown out there by Einstein and shit like that, dude. Like, I kind of find it hard to buy into, to be quite honest with you, but I'm not an Einstein. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? Neither was Einstein because he was a fucking liar too. All he did was
I didn't want
steal
to say
stuff.
that, and I'm glad you said that.
I will. He also married his cousin, his little cousin, and stuff
Yeah,
like
he was
that.
a little bit of a pedophile.
He's fucking disgusting. But yeah.
And the medical examiner drove around with his brain for like a year.
Oh, yeah. He tried to sell it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been a waste of time. They should have got Tesla's brain.
Yeah.
Einstein was one of the biggest frauds in my opinion. But yeah, it's oh man.
So are we going to talk about?
I think we all got some homework.
Yeah.
I would, Jamie, if you ever want to do this again, dude, please, because this was really fun.
Give me a heads
thank you
up
for inviting me. You know.
Yeah. The next one will be about aliens. Tim's favorite subject.
There you go.
And dude, just
It
to
will
piggyback
surprise
on
you.
something Jamie said too. To piggyback on something he said, because I've seen these debates on like plenty of YouTubes and other stuff like that, and in real life, dude. Like you said, nobody fought with each other. Now maybe next episode we'll be wringing each other's necks or whatever. You know, I don't know what's going to happen, but.
Well, we're going to do the mud flood in 2 weeks.
The most important thing about this whole fucking hour and a half is you can have a debate with people and not fucking, want to lose your mind. Yeah. Not that big a deal. I'm going to go make some cookies. I'm probably going to watch like an episode of a TV show. Like my night was not ruined. It was pretty fun.
Next episode will be aliens. In 2 weeks, we're going to do part 1 of mud flood.
Okay. I've got to read up on some mud floods. Anytime you say that, I instantly think of the molasses flood.
Oh, get ready, Jamie.
Yeah. Do y'all know about the molasses flood?
No, but I'm interested.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to bring that story up. That's a good story.
Okay, cool.
All right. And you'll both be surprised to know that I actually do think that aliens crashed at Roswell. And
well, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, but I don't know how to explain it because I don't know how
I do because I've thought about it a lot. And I'm not, that's my thing though. I actually do believe that, and I'll tell you why.
This might be me and you teaming up against Tim.
Actually.
Oh, y'all definitely. I'm just being quiet, but y'all are definitely going to be teaming up against me on this one. But I will be more prepared now.
All right. We'll put you on it. Thank you guys. This has been a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Send us the. All right, this is the latest Doc Salem episode, ending with Professor Jamie and Dr. Tim Lottie. All right, we're out of here.
Be seeing you.
All right, bro.